By the way, you're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide, the Roadshow edition. Don't forget to like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. That was a long one. That's one of the longest Tucker rants I've ever seen and never done, for that matter. It's kind of amazing how long he spent saying fucking nothing. Now, I don't have much time left, and there's so many choices. So many choices. Fuck, man. If I get into this one, I'm going to be in forever. So, you know what? It's a very complicated time, folks. Understand that. I get it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of geopolitical elements, economic, psychological, the spirit of the people. There's so many moving parts. How do you get it all together? We need an expert, somebody who can figure it all out. Who's got a finely tuned mind, who can break down exactly what we're dealing with right now. And thank God, the man with the chipmunk voice is here to read from his laptop again while chattering away and saying everything in a staccato way of speaking. Anyways, all the time. Not at all pointing out the fact that he's jacked up on Adderall and coffee at all fucking time. All right. This video is full of information, I have no doubt. It's called Biden just made a major mistake in an attempt to stop Russia. It's a major mistake. And Biden made it. He's trying to stop Russia. And if only he'd watched the Daily Wire, the Daily Wire. I don't know. It's one big word. Put a space between daily and wire. And his, of course, glow in the dark, red, no blue, no white flag. That doesn't look at all. Yeah, this is my future flag for when we're nuked into Armageddon, and I'm gonna hang this over my house so everybody knows where to go after the whole thing. It's gonna be great. Okay.
Are just going to be a giant fail.
No.
The United States is taking the most bizarre tack with regard to negotiation. So, as I say, I am not.
Yeah, as you say, I don't even know what the fuck you were starting with.
All of these other efforts at mediation are just going to be a giant fail. The United States is.
Yeah, all this stupid mediation. This is March 7th. He posted this fucking clip, by the way. This isn't from like before the invasion.
Taking the most bizarre tack with regard to negotiation. So,
yeah.
As I say, I am not ripping on the Biden administration for the amount of military material they are pouring into Ukraine. In fact, I think...
Ooh, material. Material. I didn't realize we were delivering material. When did we start giving material? Pardon me, mate, I'll be in the drawing room playing on the grand piano with my material.
That's a good strategy. The attempts to strategize with our European allies to get humanitarian and military aid into Ukraine, that's good from the Biden administration. By the way, even the attempt to downplay and de-escalate some of the rhetoric is not a bad move by the Biden administration.
But
where they are completely failing is when it comes to their attempts at international diplomacy. And the reason I say this is because they're still operating under the assumption that you can turn states that look very much like Vladimir Putin's states into friends rather than enemies.
Oh, I see. So that's even trying to be friends with Ukraine, even though they were actually working on a trade deal with Europe, and that's why Vladimir Putin invaded, because they actually are normalizing and they have less in common with Russia every passing day up until the point they were attacked.
Offering them some sort of concessions. And this is bizarre to me. At the same time that you're learning the lesson that authoritarian dictators do not care about their commitments and will do whatever they can to maximize their own power, you are attempting to make overtures to authoritarian dictators who are not going to give you anything.
Oh, I see. So new Iran deal and trying to get gas and oil from Venezuela to get them to play nice with the promise of something in the future. But, is that where we're going?
This is the move that the Biden administration is simultaneously making. It's bizarre.
You know what's bizarre? That was a thought that came out of your head and is not written allegedly on your laptop, and still you read it like it was printed on the screen. Look at the fucking camera. Talk to who's there.
And when I say that it's bizarre, I mean, like, the United States is now trying to go to Venezuela to act as a go-between. Nicolas Maduro is a socialist dictator who has his people eating dogs in the streets of Caracas.
It's a crazy sport, by the way. I've always had a problem with like bullfighting, but live dog eating. I mean, how do you even choose a winner?
The Blinken-Biden administration sending negotiators down to Venezuela to use them as some sort of go-between in an attempt to pry Venezuela loose from Russia. Yeah, good luck with that one.
Well, they do have one slight favorable, like one chip to play, let's say, is that the ruble ain't worth shit anymore. Hey, like, here's a good idea, Venezuela. If you knock all this shit off fucking around with them in China, we'll pay your debts to Russia, since it'll cost us what? How much you got in your pocket, Anthony?
According to the Washington Post, a group of senior U.S. officials flew to Venezuela on Saturday for a meeting with Maduro's government to discuss the possibility of easing sanctions on Venezuelan oil exports as the Biden administration weighs a ban on imports of Russian oil and gas, according to two people familiar with the situation. So, by the way, how kind of morally disreputable is this? What Biden is now saying to Venezuela is, okay, the Russians, they're really bad. You know, they invaded a sovereign country. We need to cut off their oil supply. So we will come to you, a socialist dictatorship where millions of people are living in abject poverty.
And buy your oil because you haven't invaded anybody, even though we don't like you. And you can make some money to feed your people. And we'll ease sanctions on you because on the scale of sanctionable actions right now, you dropped down a bunch, buddy. Yeah, you were the biggest prick in the area until our neighbor started shooting people. And then all of a sudden, come on over, hide in our garage because this fucker's nuts.
Because of your dictatorship. And we will ask you for the oil.
Are we going to ask them for the oil? Just give us some. Can you give us some? We don't care what you do to your people. Just give us some oil, please. Just give it to us.
Makes perfect sense. Well, we'll go to a foreign nation that hates our guts, that sees the United States as a great Satan, and we'll ask them for the oil as
Wait a minute. Hold on. No. Iran thinks of us as the great Satan, and a couple of the other Middle East. Venezuela doesn't think of us as the great Satan. And even still, if they did, they'd have a different phrase for it. El Diablo.
The Russians in order so that we can cut off the Russians. I'm sure that's going to work. That'll probably be great. According to the Washington Post,
I'm beginning to think that that's chipmunk sarcasm.
The trip is the highest level U.S. visit to the socialist state in years and comes as the United States is seeking to isolate Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. But here,
yeah, that's what it says there on the paper. Mm-hmm.
We're not even isolating Russia because in the same time that we are quote unquote isolating Russia, we are now attempting to make overtures to Russia directly in order so that we can make concessions to Iran. So the lesson that the Biden administration is taking away from this is not we need a stronger world stance against authoritarian states that hate our allies,
right? Particularly
our independent allies. Instead, the move by the Biden administration is, what if we just go to more of our enemies and we make concessions to them? What if we do?
Yeah, that's what's happening. I think that's a good description of it. They're just going to more of our enemies, making concessions to them. That's the honest read of what's happening here. Now, the Iran deal was working before Trump got in, and him getting out of it was one of the reasons why that actually Putin recognized as that any deal made by the U.S. or the West is untrustworthy, and therefore they don't intend on sticking to any of those. And I'm sure you'll bring up that Trump probably should have honored the Iran deal even if he didn't like it in some form or fashion because it was actually working, because it's the structure of our agreements, and our trustworthiness in these situations makes it easier, or in this case, harder to make deals like this in the future so that we can live in a peaceful and productive world. And, but no, I'm just kidding. They're evil, bomb, kill, whatever.
And what if we even talk with the Russians about making concessions to them? According to the Wall Street Journal, fresh demands from Russia threatened to derail talks to restore the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. Moscow said it wanted written guarantees that Ukraine-related sanctions won't prevent it from trading broadly with Tehran under a revived pact. So now...
Yeah, we're giving them an out. Yeah, you get the fuck out. Put the land back where it was before you invaded in 2014, and we'll let you trade goods with Iran. We won't put a blockade on that shit. Okay? There you go. Sweeten the fucking deal. Now get the fuck out.
Because Biden wants some sort of...
Seriously, every time he stammers, I swear to God, I picture Porky Pig.
Bullcrap deal with the Iranians.
Oh, easy there, big boy. Language.
Are holding him up. It's incredible. The demands made by Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Saturday, dismissed by U.S. officials on Sunday, came...
Really? They waited all day? I thought we were making concessions to them without even thinking about it. I guess they went, well, should we?
Western and Iranian officials said they were near to reaching a deal to restore the nuclear pact, which lifted most international sanctions on Iran in exchange for tight but temporary restrictions on Tehran's nuclear programs. Western officials said they wanted a deal on the nuclear file in place this week.
Right. So they don't have to fucking worry about it.
And it's unbelievable. We're using the Russians as the go-between in the Middle East.
No, we're not. How can you read what they just said there as the Russians being the go-between? How is that? Honest to God, what? He's reading it off of his fucking laptop right in front of you. Right in front. It's right there. How is that what? How do you read that and take away? How are the Russians a go-between if we're making a deal with what they can trade with Tehran if they get the fuck out of Ukraine? Meanwhile, the other deal with Iran, we're in the process of remaking the deal with Tehran. Yes, Iran, the Iranian capital. That's what he means.
While we are sanctioning them on the global stage and shipping weapons into Ukraine to fight them.
Right.
Meanwhile,
we're also giving them a way to fuck off. We don't want a hot war, dummy. If you give them something where that'll help them rebuild their fucking industry that doesn't involve them trading with the EU or anybody else and limits what they can trade, why not? Seriously, do we want is the advocation that's going on here, is he just advocating that we kill them? Is that what the point is?
The lead Russian negotiator, his name is Mikhail Ulyanov, he's openly bragging about the fact that Iran is besting the United States in this negotiation.
Yeah, is that why he was invited back on Sunday?
Thanks to the help of the Russians. The diplomatic incompetence of this administration is truly astonishing.
Or you can't read shit for brains.
People say, oh, look how they're mobilizing our European allies. Wrong. The European allies mobilized themselves in the United States.
That's right. Yes, there's no coordination. They came coordinated. The Europeans are always coordinated. Haven't you watched Brexit?
States, as always, jumped on the back seat of the car once it was already in motion.
Yeah, that's America. Easy there, buddy. You're overwhelming me with patriotism.
When it comes to Iran, the Russians are just leading us around by the nose. This is crazy.
Yeah, it is. They just, I don't know. They're just letting it do anything. They're leading us around by the nose. I mean, we just signed a deal. I don't know if you know this. Sunday, Lavrov wanted to do this thing, and we signed it. We just did it. We didn't care. And then on Sunday, we signed a deal with Iran where they can have all the nukes they want. They're just dragging us everywhere. It's ridiculous.
This is Ulyanov explaining how stupid the West is.
Or trying to make the West look stupid while his own country is fucking up royally. Perhaps. Hi, Ben. Is he still looking at me? I feel like I can't tell if he's looking at me or the caterpillars on his forehead are making him.
I'm absolutely sincere.
Yeah, he's sincere. I mean, I gotta breathe into this trust. This feels good. Ulyanov.
In this regard, Iran got much more than it could expect. Much more. We could rely on each other on many, many points. And on many, many points, through joint efforts, we succeeded.
Yeah, this doesn't sound like something a politician would say, and certainly not someone from Russia. I mean, guys, the Russian negotiator said it. He said it. Okay? What are we going to do? Not believe him? When has a Russian negotiator or Secret Service member or cabinet member ever exaggerated their position or their win on anything?
Iran got much more than it could expect, according to the Russians. So at the same time...
According to the Russians. Well, and that settles it. I mean, honestly. That, by the way, the message from the Daily Wire: believe Russian negotiators over your own country. I mean, it's if there's a giant trust exercise, and behind you is Anthony Blinken and the entire State Department, and they're like, "Fall, we'll catch you." And this doesn't work if you're Ben Shapiro, but if a normal person or a bunch of Russians, just fall backwards, you're fine.
Joe Biden and his team are like, we have to take a strong stance against Russia. They're going to Venezuela as both a moderate influence and in order to get their oil,
right?
Emboldening Venezuela.
Biggest oil reserves on earth, Venezuela. Strategically, kind of a smart move.
They're emboldening Iran with the help of the Russians.
No. I would say you're emboldening the Russians with the help of the Iran negotiations. You're using footage from the Iran negotiations to blow smoke up the ass of a Russian oligarch.
Is incompetence on the highest scale.
Well, no. I mean, the incompetence on the highest scale would be your reading comprehension and the fact that whoever made the sticker that's on the back of your laptop didn't put enough space between Daily and Wire, and it looks like one big word. It looks like Dailywire, which is like, it sounds like the name of the last name of the murderer in what is it? In Thomas Harris's novel Manhunter.
What has this turned into now? It's turned into Thomas Friedman of the New York Times begging China to help out because nothing demonstrates strength quite like begging China.
I'm sorry. What position does Thomas Friedman have in the Biden administration? I'm
Thomas Friedman, whose theories about foreign policy have been wrong on nearly along every step of the way.
Okay, so I'm glad you're turning to him in this situation as indicative of some sort of trend in the world or in the administration.
Mentioned last week the Thomas Friedman McDonald's theory of politics, suggesting that countries with McDonald's don't fight each other. That, of course, is not true.
Yeah, it depends on how many. You got to have at least a dozen.
Well, now, according to the New York Times, with every passing day, the war in Ukraine becomes a bigger tragedy for the Ukrainian people, but also a bigger threat to the future of Europe and the world at large. There's only one country that might have the power to stop it. It's not the United States. It's China. I'm sure China's going to step in. I'm sure China's going to do something.
Yeah, sure.
He says if China announced that rather than staying neutral, it was joining the economic boycott of Russia, it might shake Putin enough to stop this vicious war.
Yeah, that would be true because they are currently their biggest trading partner now that they've been cut off from the rest of the world. I mean, they're basically the last outlet and inlet, I suppose, for goods and services. So yeah, it would kind of affect them. Not because China's that important on a grand scale, but because everybody else is already fucking left.
Minimum, it would give him pause because now he has no other significant ally aside from India in the world. Why would Xi Jinping take such a stand, which would seemingly undermine his...
Basically to side with the West because it's a bigger trading partner and its money's actually worth something, and it doesn't have a territorial border that causes a desire for them to steal resources from each other and have showdowns over fishing boats and never mind. You don't read.
Seizing Taiwan? The short answer is the past 8 decades of relative peace among the great powers led to a rapidly globalizing world that has been key to China's rapid economic rise and the elevation out of poverty for some 800 million Chinese people since 1980. Peace has been very good for China, says Thomas Friedman.
Which is true, but that's over. Again, who cares?
And completely misunderstanding the nature of the Chinese Communist Party in the same way that he completely misunderstood the nature of Putin, in the same way he completely misunderstands the nature of Iran.
Yeah, what the fuck does this have to do with anybody in Congress or in representative government? It's an opinion piece.
It's incredible. These morons who got us to this impasse are now back at the table saying, well, what if we just beg China? What if we go to the Russians over? What if we beg the Iranians?
Is that what he said? That's his thing? Beg them? Or is he just suggesting that the only real leverage left is China if they're already, oh, good Lord.
Whalens. You morons, you're the ones who brought this about. It is your pusillanimous rejection of peace through strength that brought this about in the first place.
Yes. If only we had not allowed Trump to leverage blackmail against Joe Biden, that failed, by the way, because there was no there, against javelins, giving Russia basically tacit approval to begin planning an attack on Ukraine. Huh.
incredible.
Is it incredible, though? That's what I want to know.
And unless you have, if you have no grand strategy here, what you end up with is a bunch of tactics. Some of the tactics will succeed. Some of the tactics will fail. The difference.
Yeah, this is by keen analytical mind. It is a big plan. You might have little things you do. If you don't have a big plan, some of the things might work. Some of the things might not work. But if you don't have a big plan, how do you even know if you the majority of the things that work?
Tactics and strategy. Tactics are how you move troops around on a battlefield. Strategy is how you move troops around inside of an entire war.
That's right. Yeah, totally, bro. Yeah, man, this is the best. Like, I feel like I'm either I'm somewhere between watching a Steve Bannon lecture and reading the instructions to Risk.
Okay, the strategy is a higher level than tactics.
Okay, cool. Gotcha. A higher level. Excellent.
When you don't have a strategy, you just end up making tactical moves.
Yeah, that's right. If you don't have a strategy over, like, what's your strategy overall? I mean, and after you have a strategy, do you have a point? Because I'm seeing a lot of verbal tactics, but I'm not seeing a lot of linguistic strategy in this.
Any real plan. And that is what the left has been reduced to here. Because again, their giant strategy failed, but they refuse to see that their strategy failed. The strategy of appeasement, the strategy of what if we just integrate in global markets? What if we just...
Wait a minute. I thought the West was stampeding towards war and that we ratcheted this up and that we wanted this and that we've always wanted this and this was our shot. Huh?
Nice with these people. What if we just go negotiate with them? What if diplomacy is our strategy?
Yeah, fuck diplomacy. What is this, a modern world? You walk in there like the man with no name or the outlaw Josie Wales, and you listen here, 10 bears. We can live together or we can die together. I came here ready to die together. But my word of iron is a word of life. Don't make me shoot you.
It's not a strategy. Diplomacy is a tactic. And when you mistake diplomacy for a strategy rather than a tactic, you end up in wars.
Yeah, that's what happens. If you're like you're all tactical and you're not strategic, then you're like at that point you'll end up with Park Place and like no utilities in jail.
And the Biden administration still refuses to recognize that. So two things can be true at once. As always, they can be prosecuting the war in Ukraine halfway correctly, and at the same
halfway correctly. There's no half correct. It's kind of like pregnancy. You're either all there or you're not.
Time, they can be making overtures to nations which are more likely to make future wars like this one significantly more likely impossible.
Yes. So, yeah, don't reach out to Venezuela. Actually, just open up a second front. We should be bombing them. What?
The incompetence really knows few boundaries. I know what you're thinking. It's
No, you don't. Well, maybe you do. Maybe because everybody thinks that when they see you. I know what you're thinking. I know what you mean. Look at this, by the way. Biden means pain at the pump. Look at this video that's waiting. It's fucking 49 minutes. Kiss my ass. I mean, give him credit for, getting on Fiverr and getting some real thumbnails. CSL and I work for a living, but good Lord. All right. I'm well over time and I got a show tonight. So hold on one second. You've been watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. I take these clips apart and we have some fun and we discuss them and we bring up the contradictions, the lies, that we fact check them on the fly. I'm in LA right now because I got a show tonight at the Federal in NoHo. It's a Tuesday night. And then I fly back tomorrow. And I'll have the morning show and the afternoon show in Vegas. Craziness. It's just a never-ending thing. And then, of course, April 1st, Yamava Indian Casino here in Riverside, California. Nerd Halen will be performing. So if you're anywhere in the area, make your way out there. Start heading out now. If Armageddon starts, meet us there, and we'll be the Van Halen cover band that dresses like nerds, equivalent of the band on the deck of the Titanic. We really will. Look at all the zombies we got in here tonight.